Okay guys, so we're going to look at the bunker shot. Obviously we're on the golf course. Certain hazards are put in place to make the game a little bit more difficult and to penalise those bad shots we may make. Now the bunker is classed as a hazard. There's two types of hazard. You've got a water hazard and a sand hazard. What makes these shots a little bit more difficult is that you're not allowed to ground the club prior to striking the ball. So in this instance, I wouldn't be allowed to touch the sand before I start my downswing. Okay, if I do that, I'll incur a penalty. So we just have to be aware. So the basic setup, we have to use a wedge, which is a lofted club. This will help us get the ball up in the air. But what I like to see is an open club face. Generally we don't do this, we're always after a nice square club face, but in this instance opening the club face will help immensely. The reason behind that is when we open the club face we're now using more of the bottom edge or the back of the club, or in golf terminology the bounce on the club. This will help the club head glide through the sand and get the ball up in the air. The last thing we want is for the edge of the club here to dig into the sand. That will slow the club down too much and it will be very difficult to propel the ball up and out towards the flag. So we want to maintain an open club face during the bunker shot. And a nice way to do this, obviously I've told you we're not allowed to ground the club, and what I like to teach my students, once they're in the bunker, I would just get them to almost walk to the edge and just place the club head on the grass around the edge of the bunker. There's no penalty for doing this, even though you're standing inside. And try and imagine that you're balancing a glass or a cup of water on the club head. Obviously if it's square, that cup of water will fall off, so you need to open it enough until you feel as though you could balance that glass on the face. Then from there, take your grip, okay? And same as the short game, I like to grip down a little bit here. Just gives you a little bit more control. Okay, so now that we've got a nice open club face, we're gripping the club nicely. Again, not too hard with the grip, nice and soft. We really need to feel the weight of the club head, and that's important for all our shots, but especially with our bunker shot. We need to let the club head drop into the sand. Okay, so let's build the stance. Now from here, feet together, very similar to your driver. Baby step, big step, okay? Now the sand's soft, so we need stability. So we have to wriggle the feet in until we feel secure. Also by doing that, we can test how deep or how soft the sand is. And there's quite a lot of sand in here. So I know I'm going to really have to be a little bit more aggressive through the ball. Okay, so I'm feeling the sand. Now the ball is positioned, I'm going to draw a few lines in here just to demonstrate. The ball is positioned towards my front foot, almost off the left heel, okay? But I actually want to enter the sand around 2 inches behind the ball. So my entry point isn't on the ball, it's 2 inches behind the ball. I'm going to show you this in slow motion. So as we would swing back, obviously the wrists are working up, we need that in the bunker, but as we come down and hit 2 inches behind the ball, you're going to see here, the club enters the sand, but it glides under the ball, and you'll see the sand on the club face, look. It's the explosion of that sand working up which lifts the ball onto the green. So this is really the only shot in golf where the club head itself doesn't strike the ball. The club head glides under the ball. Okay, and you'll notice when we do that, we'll notice that the club head is always in front of the hands. I never like to see the hands getting in front of the club head. We're always letting the club head swing past the hands. And that really means we're keeping the loft in the club and we're striking the sand with more of the back or the bounce, which will help propel the club up and get the club traveling through. That's important. Okay, so the sand acts as a little bit of a barrier, so it really does slow the club down. So we don't have to be delicate with this shot, we can be aggressive through the ball. Okay, so let's give it a go and watch what's the finish position. So, good nice ball position towards the front foot. We're focusing on 2 inches behind the ball. The club face is nicely open. I really feel I can keep a glass of water on there, and I like to have that sensation for the first few feet back and for the first feet, 2 or 3 feet through the ball. Okay, so let's try it. So we're here, we're going to go back, we're going to turn, we're going to let the wrist work up. Now as we come down, we're going to focus on 2 inches behind and then we'll finish it. So here we go. Nice. That was a nice full turn through, and that one's popped up nicely beside the flag there. So you see, I didn't make a short finish and stop, I continued through. And you can even finish up on that toe. That means you've exploded through the shot, you've created enough speed to get the ball out, and hopefully it should land nice and close to the flag.